If you are anywhere close to the AI space, you have probably heard about Devin, which is world's first AI software engineer, as it has already sent a shockwave across the AI community and had a potential to replace a lot of junior developers and software engineers' job. The problem is Devin is closed source, and so the open source community has rolled up their sleeves and created a brand new open source project called OpenDevin. In this video, we are going to take a look how to set up OpenDevin in your local system and start using it. If you are new to the channel, my name is Abhijit. You are watching Know Together, where I try to simplify latest tech and innovation for your future and your business. Let's get started. Now, before I proceed ahead, I must tell you that OpenDevin is still work in progress, as it's also mentioned in their GitHub website. And this really means is that although the interface is ready, it has lots of bugs, as I also found out in my testing, as you will see later in this part of the video. But at the same time, it is in the list of trending GitHub projects. And at the time of recording, it has already bagged more than 11,000 GitHub stars in just a matter of days of launching this project. And I'm expecting this project to be full-fledged working project very soon, because there are a lot of contributors and a lot of forks that has happened of this project, as I can see from their GitHub repository. Okay, so now let's go ahead with the installation steps quickly, and then let's start using it. And in the end, I'll also try to integrate it with a locally hosted large language model running with LM Studio. Here is a couple of prerequisites that you need to have in your system before you can start using it. First, you need to have Docker and Docker Compose. Then you need to have Python, and then you need to have Node.js, which will power up their front end, and also you need npm, which is Node Package Manager. So make sure you install these components before you follow this tutorial. If you have any issues in installing any of this component, just ask AI like ChatGPT, Bird, or Bing. And even after that, if you still face any issue, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely try to help you. Okay, with that said, let's start by going into my VS Code terminal. Okay, so now we are in the VS Code terminal. Let me copy the URL of the repository and clone the repository. Next, let's create a Python environment. Let's name it OpenDevin. Let's activate the environment. As per the documentation, we need to pull the Docker image. So let's copy that command and let's try to pull the image. Make sure your Docker desktop is running already. It's going to download around 152 MB image very quickly. At the start, we are going to start with OpenAI API key, and later on we'll try to integrate locally hosted large language model. So let's try to create an OpenAI API key. Now, as per the documentation, we need to keep this OpenAI key into the config.doml file. So they have given a template. We are just going to, and then just going to copy the template file into config.toml. Now we will again follow the documentation. Let's install pipenv. Next, let's install the project using the second command, and this step is going to take some significant amount of time. So if you're not sure what pipenv is a Python package management tool. So it basically contains both pip and virtually env. You don't need to create and manage an environment separately. So pipenv will actually manage the whole Python environment for the project for you by creating a log file. Next, we are going to open a pipenv shell. So that means the initial conda environment that we created is no longer required. And as you can see, now there is no OpenDevin being shown in the shell, because now the shell is open using pipenv. And next, we are going to start the OpenDevin backend server using the uvcon command. Now, OpenDevin uses Docker in the backend while it does any of the coding projects. That means when you instruct any task, what it basically does, it creates a Docker container, and inside that container it tries to create the project, run test, and install any required package. Okay, so our backend is ready. Now we'll create another terminal. We'll go inside OpenDevin, and here we will run the front end. And yeah, we'll just copy this section of the code and run npm install and npm start, and this will start the front end of the OpenDevin interface. So again, make sure you have installed npm and node.js before you run this. So this project is available at localhost 3001 port, and now this is how the OpenDevin interface looks like. It's exactly similar like Devin demo, isn't it? So they have a couple of sections: terminal, planner, code editor, and browser, just like OpenDevin. And here we can give the details of the task. So let's test with a task using GPT-3.5 Turbo first. So let's start simple. I'm going to ask it to create an web app which will have a button, and once the button is clicked, it will change the background color and it will also pop up a message. This is created using OpenDevin. Let's see how it works. Okay, so it first checked the ls command and it couldn't find the workspace or any code, so it created the workspace folder, and then it has wrote the code into the index.html, and that's the code of the index.html, which looks good. Okay, so I have now stopped the backend service, and now I'm into the workspace folder, and I'm going to double click the index.html, and that's how the page looks like. I'll click me. Yeah, you can see the message and it's changing the background color. I have tried a couple of more times. Yeah, it's changing the color as expected, so that's a pass. So now let's try and make a little bit more complex example. I'm going to start the OpenDevin backend again, and this time I'm going to give it a task which is my favorite, a application which will take an YouTube video URL and get me a transcript. So I'm just going to write it, create an app which should have an UI that will take a YouTube URL, and it will fetch and show it. So okay, the problem is I haven't deleted the index.html, but that's fine. It should be able to see that this index.html is not related to this task. It has tried to install the YouTube transcript API, which is good, and it has also created the code app.py. It tried to add some test of the application. So yeah, I can see the test app.py, and then I have started getting one of the bug of this project. So if you see this error condensing thoughts, and I have been getting this error very frequently whenever I was trying to create any code using GPT-3.5 or lower capable model. So again, I'm going to stop it because I think it has again went into loop. Let's check out the code. So let's open app.py. I can see that it has created an app root, and then it created an // transcript, but under the template I see it's created transcript.html instead of index.html. Again, that means it's not going to work, right? So let's try to run this Python code and see if it's going to work or not. So I'm just going to quickly create another conda environment. I'm going to install Flask and YouTube transcript API, and there you go. If I am loading that server, I am getting index.html only. I'm not getting what I wanted. I'm just getting something called transcript. That's not what I have expected. So yeah, it's a fail. Okay, so next what we are going to do is, again, we're going to start the service. Again, we're going to start the service, but this time we are going to use GPT-4 and see whether that works. There are a couple of models there, but I'm going to use 1106 preview, which is the cheapest of GPT-4, and I'm going to give the same statement. I'm going to create the same app, and before I do that, I have deleted all the codes. I'm hoping it will create the code properly. Let's see. Yeah, it's created the requirement.txt, created the code under app.py, it's created the index.html, and again I have started getting that error condensing thoughts, the same error that we have seen before. I'm going to stop the backend service then, and I'm going to test it directly from there. It seems to have given the interface as I wanted. Let me copy this video URL, which is my last video. If you haven't checked it, please go ahead and check this, and then I'm going to give that here and click get transcript, and yay, it has been able to get me the transcript in a text area dynamically. So GPT-4 is somehow worked, that's good, but again, it didn't work as expected in its entirety because there was that same error due to which I had to terminate the backend again. And this is something you always need to keep in mind and be watchful when you are developing with OpenDevin at the moment. I'm sure open source community knows about it and they're working hard to fix all these issues. This project is really frankly 2 weeks or 3 weeks old, so I don't expect this to be too much mature, but I'm sure all these issues will be fixed very soon. Now let's take a look how we can use a locally hosted large language model. So what we are going to do, we are going to open up LM Studio. So in this case, we are going to use Hermes 2 Pro. This model seems to have been trained with function calling specific data. So I'm hoping this will work with OpenAI specific endpoint. And we are going to point the LLM base URL to 1234/v1, and other thing doesn't really matter. So I've just given GPT-3.5 Turbo and LLM API key as a rubbish value, and that's all fine. And we'll start the backend, and we are going to use the same task with our locally hosted large language model. And I can see it is started to generate the response, but yeah, I don't see any changes to the workspace directory really. So I'm not sure what it is doing even. I say it has created almost around 3000 tokens so far. Somehow I feel it's stuck. It's just endlessly generating response, but without any real impactful result. And then I started getting that something went wrong error again. So yeah, I think again, running with local LLM is a fail, I would say. Okay, so that was a very short demonstration of the OpenDevin project. I know it's still not matured, it's still buggy. I am really hopeful that this project is going to become a full-fledged working project very soon. So stay tuned for the updates for this around the project. I'll attach the link of the project into the description so you can go ahead and check it out. And I hope this brings some value to you. If yes, please like the video so that others can watch it. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe it now, because I generally bring a lot of valuable content related to AI, cybersecurity, and other tech related area which might benefit you in the future. And with that said, I'm going to end this video. If you want to watch how to create a very cool or an AI sales agent, check on your left and click that video. And if you are really new to the AI, you can watch our masterclass from the right. So take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.